Hi there, my name's Nick Craggs. Welcome to my YouTube video on my 5 top tips on how to pass your AAT exams first time. Now, I've been shortlisted for AAT Tutor of the Year a number of times. I run the AAT Distance Learning Department at First Intuition, who are the AAT's large provider of the year, so I know a little bit about helping students through their exams. So these are my 5 top tips that you need to know to make sure that you pass those exams first time, every time. So these are my general 5 top tips for passing all AAT exams. Now, if you find them useful, please give me a like. I do actually have more specific tips for specific units, links to which are popping up now, but these are my 5 top tips to make sure you pass your AAT exams first time. Tip 1. You're at the exam centre, it's exam day. Why are you there? You're not there to produce a perfect piece of work. You're there to pass the exam. So if something doesn't balance, do not panic. It could well mean that you've still got loads and loads of marks, just one thing isn't quite right. We're looking for competency, not perfection. But you don't want to be losing marks for areas where you actually know the stuff. For example, ratios. If it asks you to give your answers to 2 decimal places, make sure your answers are given to 2 decimal places. Likewise, for example, financial statements. If it's working in thousands, make sure you're working in thousands. These are marked by computers and they will mark it as incorrect. Tip 2, much like I am doing here, relax. I always think spend an extra 30 seconds to make sure you really are clear as what that question is asking is well worth doing. There's nothing worse than writing a great piece of work that doesn't answer the question asked. That's not going to get you any marks. I also think what's really good is using part of the question to start your answer. So if the question says, what are the failings in the budgetary system? You could start your sentence with, the failings in the budgetary system are, and it just keeps you more focused on what you should actually be writing. Tip 3. Mocks, mocks, mocks. AAT is a vocational subject, it's all about doing. You can't just read a book and think you're going to pass your exams. You need to do exam standard questions and as many as possible. It's not much fun, but the benefits of passing your exams will be worth it, I promise you. Tip 4. On the AAT study resources, many students will look at the sample assessments and the green light tests, but also look at the Chief Examiner's report. Now this shows you where students are typically losing marks. And these areas you want to really work on because the examiner is not going to stop testing them just because students find them hard. In fact, probably encourage them to test it more. So this is my last tip, and this is all about the written questions, which students typically hate. Students like bashing numbers through on their calculator, but written questions come up at all levels of AAT nowadays. So you need to be confident in explaining accounting concepts to people who are perhaps not an accountant. Now you need to be aware of why AAT have written questions, and they are paying markers to do it, which are expensive. And the reason is because they want to test things that they can't use computers, which are cheaper, to mark. So, for example, at level 4, if you're asked to explain a variance, don't just prove to me that you can calculate a variance. We know that from the numerically marked questions. I want you to be telling me you know what possibly has caused that variance and what effect that variance will have on the business in real world terms. And if you're really showing off, you can then interlink one variance to another. Now I do have a couple of blogs specifically on individual units written questions. The links are popping up now. But generally, just bear in mind why you are being asked to do a written question, and that is to show you have a really good understanding of the subject and how that affects the business in the real world.